Hello, everybody, and welcome to Methods webinars, and thank you for joining us here today. Today's topic is going to be guest and public pages. So very exciting topic for us to go through here today. Just a couple of housekeeping items. We will be allowing our attendees of the session to type in some questions via the chat panel on the right-hand side. So first-time users of the GoToWebinar software, you'll see a little panel on the right-hand side. Please, become familiar with the area, is particularly the one that allows you to type in questions. We will have our staff available to answer those questions throughout the webinar, and we will have a live Q&A session at the end of the webinar as well, where we will take some of those unanswered questions or questions that are still coming in through that session and answer or show as many of them as possible in the Q&A session. The topics for today, as mentioned, it's going to focus on guest pages and public pages, but specifically we're going to talk about screens and the different access to method screens, taking a look at guest pages, demoing them, customizing guest pages, and then also the public pages version as well, and talking through some examples and some light customization in that area, of course, followed by some questions. So we're going to jump right into it. A lot to talk about today. When we think about method and using method, there's really three types of ways somebody can access method screens. So when we're talking about method screens, we're talking about the screens that the users are interacting with. So for example, if I switch into the product here and I'm on my sample account here and we're looking at my dashboard for the method account, I can go over to contacts and I can take a look at the contacts list and look at all my wonderful contacts. These are the method screens, right? So in this example, I am logged in as a user to the account. So when I'm logging in, I put in my user ID or email and my password, and I'm logging in as a licensed user, somebody who is paying to be able to log into this account. So these are what we would consider kind of private pages. And if we relate this to something that is a little bit more familiar with the general audience and not very method specific, consider Google Docs. And another example of this is Dropbox or any of those other kind of document sharing applications out there or something similar. But we're going to use Google Docs as our example. This is something where you are logged in and you're in your Google Drive or your Dropbox and you have private access, meaning you have to physically log in, put in your credentials, and then once you're there, you can access the files in your account. Very similar for method. So you're logging in and you're able to access these screens and interact with the product. Then we have what we call kind of portal or guest pages. Think again of Google, but this time think of a document and a link where you're able to share that link and the recipient will have access to the screen or the document that you are giving them access to. So somebody will get a link, they'll click it, they're not necessarily part of your company and logging into Method, or they're not necessarily logging into Google or whatever it is with your ID, but they're just getting access to that folder or document or documents with the link that you provided. So they're really viewing that as a guest. You're providing them kind of guest access to those areas. And this is where we're going to focus a lot of our time on throughout the presentation webinar here today. And then the third option is public pages. So we have a public page and it's just simply imagine you're in your Google Doc or Dropbox and you have a document in there and you want to make it publicly available. You go to the security or the sharing settings and you say anybody who has access to this link, maybe we're going to tweet it out, maybe we're going to put it on our website, Facebook, whatever it is, just let them click it and have access to that doc. It is open to absolutely everybody. So a slight difference there between the guest page because they're kind of a registered guest and you kind of know who they are and who you're sending it to, whereas public is just open to anybody to use. So some really important differences, and we're going to come back to these and talk about them throughout. So what are guest pages? Guest pages are commonly used for our customer portal or contacts portal. And if we step back for a moment and take a look at, what does that really mean? Imagine a secure site for your contacts to access their information. So contact details, transactions, review support cases potentially, and additional features in the future. And here we're talking about things that we offer out of the box for use of Method. It allows you to provide customer support and convenience, 24/7 self-service. So we live in a day and age where our contacts and our customers and people that we're interacting with don't just want to have the ability to contact you within business hours. We have different time zones. People are all around the world. So they just want to be able to log in when it's convenient for them and get access to the information that they need right then and there. And it also helps you look professional. We're talking like big company professionals. So the moment that you have kind of this self-service option, even if you're a small medium business or a smaller business, you're all of a sudden competing with the bigger guys now. You're providing self-service to your customers and they're able to log in, and it just kind of gives you that really big company professional look. So methods guest pages, and again, we're using the term guest pages here, but you'll often hear us refer to this as our contacts portal or contacts guest pages, is intuitive and easy to use. So these guest pages are out-of-the-box features that are provided with your method account. They're pre-built into various apps. The most popular and obvious is going to be our contacts app, and it's really a turnkey solution. So there's little to no setup required. I mean, everybody who has access to a method account can get started with this, quite easily in terms of taking advantage of Method's contacts portal or guest pages. So let's go ahead and do a quick demo of what is available out of the box so we can kind of visualize and see what's happening here. We're going to go into the product. And as mentioned, I'm in an account here. It's just a sample account that we have. So by all means, if you are looking in your account, obviously you would see your information in there, hopefully. And we're just going to go to our contacts list and we are going to click on a customer of ours, Amy Smith. And we're going to be taken to her contacts page. So this is where we are able to view her profile, take a look at some of the information we have on file for her. I mean, in our app ribbon, we can see some activities, cases, invoices, sales opportunities, the things that we would expect to see in our CRM, and those that are applicable to you, of course. But what is a hidden gem is really this little area here that says portal, and then we have a little share link there. So what we can do is we can click that link. Now, a piece of advice here, this will only work if the contact has a registered email there, right? I mean, you want to make sure that they have a registered email there. I mean, that's kind of the best way that this will work. But if we click share, what we can do is it will generate a pop-up for us. So this is, the method user who's logged in, one of your employees or yourselves perhaps, and it basically generates a link, and we can copy this link, and the message says that we can provide the contact with this link. So we can send it to them via email or some other way of sending this email to them. So let's go ahead and copy that. And what we're going to do next is we are going to scroll over, and I'm just going to open up another browser. So we're using Chrome here, but what's special about this is I'm going to do it in incognito mode, right? So what we're about to do is I'm going to act as the contact here, the customer, Amy Smith. So if I try to do it in the same browser, it's going to have some conflicts because on one machine, in browser, I'm logged in as a Method employee, perhaps, employee of the company, I should say, a Method user. But here I don't want to do that, so I don't want to have any conflicting. So I'm just going to paste that URL into an incognito or a private mode browser and hit enter. And what we're going to see, is we're going to be taken to our Method sign-in screen. And you're probably wondering, well, why is this happening? What's happened here is that particular user, and I'll show a different example of this, that particular user has decided to, at some point, they're going to, likely receive an email from us in the early stages of accessing their, guest account, asking them to secure their guest access. So what that means is they can say, okay, I have an ID, I have an email with you and the company. I don't want just anybody being able to click that link. I'm going to provide a password there and password protect it. So this particular contact, Amy Smith, has essentially password protected her guest access. So she would provide her email address here, amy.methodsample@gmail.com. So again, this is just a sample, and her password that she, and hopefully only she knows, and she would click sign in, and that'll of course authenticate her and take her right into the guest page. So now we're acting again as the customer, Amy Smith, and we're able to see some profile and some information that the company has on file for Amy Smith. and we're able to go to home, maybe some recent transactions. I can take a look at some invoices or, whatever it is that I need to do for self-service and the things that are available to me, of course. So we're not going to focus a lot on showing the features of the guest page or contacts portal today. Today's topic is more about customizing and tweaking and getting used to this. So we do have some documentation that's available on our Help Center, and perhaps for another session, we can provide an in-depth analysis of the features that are available out of the box. But this is just a quick show and tell of, kind of how our customers get into their account. Now, I did promise one thing, so I'm going to sign out here. I'm going to go ahead and go back into the method account and just pick a different contact, and we're just going to pick Alex Trebek. And what we're going to do is we're going to click share on his profile and copy his unique link. And we're going to go back into incognito mode. We're going to paste it in, and you're going to notice something a little bit different here, hopefully, fingers crossed, that I have not password protected it. And there we go. So you're going to notice that Alex was never prompted for the ability to sign in. So that link took him right to his portal. What this is essentially saying is this user, this contact, it's either their first time getting here or they were never really interested in password protecting their access. So they're just able to use that link and get right into their guest page. And we definitely recommend that you encourage your guest users to password protect their access at all times. It is the safest option. Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to jump back into our slides. That was just a quick demonstration of guest pages. We're going to focus on customizing. So how do I customize these guest pages? So we know that method is highly customizable. You can add custom fields to screens, track custom data, change the flow, the look and feel of all your screens. And of course, we've seen that in previous webinars and sessions, and some of you have experienced that yourself. But how do we actually do it? So first thing we're going to do is we need to recognize that our guest pages are built using contacts, since contacts are the ones that will be signing into your guest pages. So a really important concept. So you'll notice that every time that I clicked on Amy, the customer, or Alex Trebek, the customer or lead or whatever he was there, they are part of my contacts app. They are a contact that is registered in my system. So a really important thing to realize and identify early on. So having said that, the Contacts app is a really good place to start to look for customizing screens that are related to the Contacts portal. So we're going to go ahead and look at the Contacts app. And specifically, we're going to be looking for screens that start with the word guest. So the name of the screens themselves is going to have guest, dash, and then whatever the screen name is. I mean, that's been our best practice to date. This is not 100%. I mean, if you have your own custom screens that you have built for guest pages, it might not follow this, naming convention. But for now, I mean, it's just something that we recommend, and you will see that we kind of take advantage of it. So we're going to go ahead and browse those screens first. So let's go back into our account. Let's go to the dashboard, and we can see we have various apps available to us. We're going to find the Contacts app. We are going to click the little ellipsis in the top right corner, and we are going to manage that app. Now, of course, you're going to need the proper permissions to do this. Okay, so you need to have the permissions to manage and customize these things, and if you do not, it'll become quite obvious that you do not have those permissions. So if you're trying to follow along and you don't have permissions, well, you need to speak to someone in your company to get those permissions, or figure something else out that will allow you to follow along, or just follow along on the webinar. So here are all the screens that make the Contacts app. We have our contacts list, preferences, customer form, the edit contact screen. We're going to scroll down, and you're going to notice that you're going to start to see some screens that say guest dash customer contacts list, guest customer edit, guest customer home. So there's several of them. What we are going to do is we are just going to take the first one, which is the guest customer home. It sounds like it's the home page of the portal, and we are going to customize it. So just like any other screen and method, it's a screen. We're going to customize it. And just like any other screen that is built by us here at Method, we do not allow you to tamper with our original screens, because we want to make sure you have that working copy all the time and you're receiving any updates that we would provide to these screens. So you can go view only, but that won't really allow you to customize. Instead, you're going to make a copy. So nothing different than normal customization so far. So you're going to create a copy of this screen, It's going to, by default, just add a little number 2 to it so you can actually see the name of the screen there in my browser tab. I know it's kind of small, not really relevant at this point, but this is a copy of our original screen. Now, again, we're not going to have some very elaborate customization here today. We're just going to focus on, the steps to customize. What you choose to customize is going to be up to you afterwards. So one thing that we're going to do, let's just go ahead and preview this screen really quickly. A simple change that is going to be obvious is this button that says view all contacts at my company. Let's make it pink. Okay. And again, just pink, vibrant, so that everyone can see, that we made that change and we were able to successfully customize. Your customization examples might be adding custom fields, reordering, tweaking, and etc. So we're going to look for that button and we're just going to scroll down. There's lots here on this screen, but it looks like there's a section for contact buttons here. We're going to click that button and we're going to go to the properties and we're going to change the background color to be an alert color, which is a more bright color. And we're going to preview and it's going to kind of look like this. So everything looks good. We're going to hit save on that screen. And a very simple customization, of course. Yours can be a little bit more elaborate. We're going to close. And there we go. We are going to go back into our dashboard. We're going to go to contacts. We're going to choose Alex Trebek. And the reason we're choosing Alex is because he's not as, his access is not secured. So it's just one less step for me on this particular webinar. And we are going to copy his link. We're going to jump back into incognito mode now. So now we're going to log in as Alex the guest and watch what happens. So the last time we did this, because he didn't have to type a password, it took us right into the portal. We're going to run into a bit of a problem. You are going to see an oops permission required. So this is where we start to get into the details of how screens that are used for guests are a little bit different than normal screens inside of Method. And to make that obvious, when you are customizing your screens, you need to provide the proper security for the screens that are going to be available for guests. Otherwise, you will see this message, or I take that back, your guests will see this message. And they will be frustrated and they will see that something went wrong. Now, the reason that this happened, let's get back into our account, is if we go back to the dashboard, we're going to get back into managing the contacts app. And we're going to take a look at the screens that are involved. And you are going to notice that when we customized our guest home screen, it created a copy. So anything that was currently pointing to this screen here is now pointing to version 2, which is over here. Very normal, no surprises there. But let's go ahead and investigate the original screen. So this is our original. We're going to go into the little ellipsis here and we're just going to click on security. We are going to notice our original screen allows this screen to be shared with guests, which kind of makes sense. So let's go back and we're going to go to the copied version. So there's our original. It's being redirected to guest customer home 2, which is this one. Let's go over here and check the security of this screen. You're going to notice that by default, there is no additional abilities for this screen to be accessed by guests or public individuals. So this is normal. We want everybody to make a conscious decision as to, when you're copying a screen, we're not just going to copy the security settings of the original screen for you. You need to be absolutely sure that you want that screen to be available by guests or even, in a case where it's available to the public. Otherwise, a user will have to sign into Method, an actual licensed user, not a guest, to access that screen. So we can solve this problem by saying, well, yes, we definitely want this copy to be available by guests, and just simply click save. And we can go back and hopefully just refresh that browser there, and that should take us to the proper screen, or we could have used that link again that was provided to Alex. And now we will see the screen where Alex is able to take a look. Now, what we might have to do here, whoops, let's just go back over here. Apologies, I'm just going to type in that link one more time. Okay. What we might have to do here is we might have to make sure that the screen that we are working on is the screen that we have customized. So what we're going to do is we are going to go into contacts and manage this screen here. All right, and we are going to go into our screen over here, and we're just going to go to versions. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that now we have a version here. So when we're customizing, we have a version that is available to me as a test user only. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the status and just make this live for everybody. And hopefully what that'll allow us to do is open up a little browser here, and sometimes, apologies, I mean, even when you're using incognito mode, sometimes, there we go. So now we see the nice bright button that we have customized. And again, that's just an example of customization. Of course, we're talking very, very simple here. So that's one way that you can customize, and of course you can customize in many, many different ways depending on what your customization is. So the next question, we've talked about, how do I tweak the existing pages that Method offers? Okay, great. You're probably asking, well, how do I add my own screens? So can I add my own screens to this? And the answer is absolutely yes. So in order to do this, you have to create your custom app or custom screen in one of our existing apps, and you have to use a dedicated guest version of that screen is what we recommend. So what does this mean? Well, we're going to do this by introducing a company called ABC Merch. So some of you who have followed previous webinars may have seen or heard of this company. It's a company we use for some samples, and they have a rewards app. So they have a lot of customers that they're providing rewards to, these rewards points that customers can earn or redeem. And an example of this is right here inside of our account. So there's a rewards app. We can click it. Just some small sample information here. We see a couple of contacts that have earned some points and some general notes. So they have built this app and this screen that is available for them to track these points and rewards for their contacts and customers. So wouldn't it be nice if I allowed my contacts to log into their portal that is already pre-built by Method, maybe do a couple of small tweaks, but wouldn't it be nice if we allowed them the ability to see the points that they have earned? So talk about self-service. So absolutely, yes, you can do that, and we're going to talk about a couple ways you can do it. One of them is going to be the way that is not so recommended, followed quickly by a couple of tweaks to the most optimal way to do this. So first and foremost, if we go back to our slides, you need to have that screen, and we recommend you use a dedicated version for this screen. And we suggest that you follow our naming convention, but feel free to follow your own. So in order to do this, we are going to go to our dashboard. We are going to go to our custom app or wherever that screen is located. So in this case, it is in the rewards app. We are going to manage the screens there. Now, right now, this app has a couple of screens. One is the list, and one is the ability to edit add or edit rewards. We want to provide users with the ability to see a list of rewards. So if Amy is logged in, she should see a list of rewards that she has earned historically and transactionally. Now, one thing that we could do is we can make this screen available to our guests. Not recommended. And the reason being is because when your Method users are logging in, that screen could behave a little bit differently than when your guests are logging in. And to make this point absolutely crystal clear, let's go back to just take a look at something as simple as this rewards list screen. You will see here we have the ability to look at these rewards. One, it is showing rewards for many contacts. Two, on the top right corner, and this might be hidden by your GoToWebinar panel, so please minimize it so you can see what I'm referring to here. There's a little link here that says I want to add a new reward, which will take us to a screen to add new rewards. We don't suggest that you provide that access to your guests because then they can just add additional rewards to themselves. So what we want to do is we want to manage this app. We want to take a look at this rewards list, and the first thing that I recommend doing is creating a copy of that screen. Now by default, method is going to suggest creating a new version, right? So if you are making a change to the screen, we don't actually recommend having 5 or 6 or 10 different copies of the screen, just different versions of that screen. It is easier to manage. But in this case, we do want an entirely new screen because one is going to behave for internal purposes, one is going to behave as a guest purpose screen. So we're going to create a brand new screen, and we are going to call it guest rewards list, and we've given it a proper name. And we don't want any of our original screens to redirect to this one. We want this to be a standalone screen only available to guests. So let's take this off. So again, just a quick review, a brand new copy, proper name, and do not redirect what is pointing to our original rewards list screen to this version, because then all of your internal staff will then see the guest version. Let's go ahead and create copy. And what this has done now is it has created a copy. It's an exact copy of the screen. So a few things that we want to do. We want to remove and strip some abilities immediately that are pretty obvious. So this new reward button here, I just want to get rid of it. I don't want my guests to be able to add new rewards. They should be able to view rewards only. So first thing that I'm going to change, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close this screen. Okay, so we now have a guest rewards list version. And in order for me to get it to the portal, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the dashboard. And now I'm going to jump back into the contacts app because that's where we made our previous customization. Right? So we are going to find one of the screens that we made previous customizations on. And it was our guest home. So let's go ahead and find one of the screens that is currently on the guest portal, and we are going to customize it. Now this is where we'd like everyone to pay attention to what we are about to do here. Okay. So we're going to create a third version. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show everybody this section nav at the top. It's a special object that is called the portal navigation. So this is the navigation of the portal. And what that is essentially saying is if we look back here to our guest view, so this is like there's this navigation strip across the top. So home access, transactions access, and then also on the right hand side it had the ability for him to sign out. So what we want to do is we want to add to that another section or an item on that navigation that is called rewards list or rewards or whatever we choose to call it. So let's jump back into our customization. We're going to click on this navigation, and on the right hand side it just says edit the navigation menus. Here's our contacts portal navigation. Let's go ahead and click edit, and you will see the links to home. You will see recent transactions. We are simply going to add a third option, and what we are going to do is just call it rewards. You can name it whatever you'd like, but short and sweet is probably most recommended. And when we click it, we want to take them to a method screen, and we just simply look for the screen that we have, and please make sure that you're choosing the guest version of your screen. So this is where we really solidify the fact now that you should have a dedicated version for portal and a dedicated version for internal use, because they will behave a little bit differently once you start to customize. So here's our guest version. We're going to click save and back. We're going to get out of that menu there, and we're going to save the changes and close the screen. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we are now able to get into this guest navigation. Here's Alex. He now has a rewards link, so we chose to call it rewards, and he can click it, and all of a sudden, what do you know, we run into the same problem. So you always have to remember when you are copying screens, it does not copy those security permissions. So I did that intentionally. Find the screen that does not have security permissions, which is the rewards list screen. So here's our guest rewards list. Simply click it, security, and allow it to be shared with guests. Once you've done that, it should be pretty straightforward after that point. Method will recognize that Alex is a guest. He should now be able to click his rewards list and there you have it. He's able to see rewards. A couple of notes here that some of you might be typing in as questions immediately. The first that should pop into your head is, why is Alex seeing other people's rewards? So this is where, again, it is not so simple to just take a screen and make it available to guests, because this screen is designed for your staff or method users to view, and they would want to see rewards for everybody. So you would need to do some additional tweaking here and filter this grid to only show rewards for the guest that is currently logged in. So that can definitely be done, and this is again why we say it's important to have a version of a screen for your internal users and a separate dedicated version for your guest users. So we're not going to quite talk about how to do those filtering in this example. I mean, if there's time near the end, we can come back to this. But the second thing that's probably just as important is, well, this screen looks different. There's no navigation menu here, right? So we go back to those previous screens, we saw a nice navigation menu here that allows us to navigate. When we click on rewards, we don't get that. And that is also solved very, very easily. All you have to do is go into the account. So here is your rewards app. You have a screen that is currently being displayed in the guest portal. Let's go ahead and customize it. So this is our dedicated version of the rewards list for our guests. And what we can do is we can simply add a section here, and we're just going to reorder these sections, and you will find out very, very quickly how easy this is. We're going to rename this section at the top, and we are going to call it section nav. And what we're going to do is we are simply going to search in this search for the word portal, and we have an object called portal navigation. We are going to drag it onto the screen, and the moment that we do that, this is already set up for us. So it's actually going to take the existing portal navigation and apply it to this screen. So all we have to really do is just hit save, close the screen, and if we were to reload Alex's access to his guest portal, it is amazing now how this portal nav, just by dropping it onto every screen that will access that the customer will access as a guest user, will now see this navigation on every single screen. So that's all you have to do. Any screen that is being used as a guest, just drop that portal navigation on the screen, and it will apply that same navigation on every screen. Highly recommended. Of course, the option is yours, but this is a much better navigational option. And so that brings us to our second topic, and this one is a little bit lighter. We're going to talk about public pages. So we talked a lot about logging into Method, your internal users using the screens and apps that you make available to them. We saw a quick demonstration of guest pages, which is Amy and Alex logging in and seeing these self-service options that are available to them. Then we took one of those screens and we made a small customization to it. Yours could have been a little bit larger and more complex. And then we went a step further and added a completely custom screen to that existing portal. The next step is public pages. And what this really is these are pages that are available to anybody that do not require them to sign in as a user or as a guest. And examples of this are very common, and we'll show some of them. But what's important to understand here is these are still method screens. So they have full customization and accounting abilities. They do not require authentication, so users can just get there, click on a link, and they are able to do all sorts of things. And you are able to customize that screen based on your unique needs of your business. Examples, web to lead forms. So imagine the ability to create a screen in Method that will capture visitors to your website and enter them in as leads to your Method CRM. Create an opportunity and activities that will alert you to follow up with them. In Method Donor, we have the donate ability for our donors to go and click a link and say, I love your cause, I want to donate $500. And this is something where they can just find that link on Twitter, on Facebook, on your website. And again, they don't have to be registered. There's a lot of times where donors will just be anonymous and want to donate to whatever cause it is. And then of course any custom screens that you make publicly available. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick show and tell of our web to lead form, and then we're going to do one small tweak to it, and then we're going to come back for some questions. So what we see here is for those users who are using the web to lead app, we actually have the ability, and it's pre-built, the ability for you to take a screen that we have designed to capture information from a user onto the web. And you can test drive this. So if we wanted to test drive it, what we can do is just simply take a look. And the real meat of it here is a contact us page. So first name, last name, company, and all this information here. Now, this is just a test drive, so it's still you as a method user. I mean, you can still see your navigational menus here on the left-hand side to the apps that you have. That wouldn't work so well if it was on your website. So instead, what we've done is imagine the ability, and this is just a sample website, so it's not fully complete, but imagine ABC Merch, this company that has a website and they want to be able to capture lead information from their website. So guests that come to their website, maybe overnight, after hours, and you'll see here that the meat of what I showed you previously is now listed on their website. So this is actually a method screen that is publicly available, and you can see the address here, method.me/abcmerch. It is a sample, so don't enter any information into there because it will certainly not reach our actual staff. But a user could go in here and start to type in information and eventually hit submit, and that will enter their information into the CRM, create a lead, an opportunity, and a couple of activities to follow up. So the question becomes, how did it get here and can I customize it? Of course. So if we were to go to our dashboard, you need to have access to our sales pipeline pack, and one of the apps in there is the web to lead app, right? So if we were to click setup, you have to go through and do some initial setup, but one of the most important things is near the top. So A, this form is enabled. So this has to be checked in order for it to be able to be accessed by the public. And B, this link here. So we're really looking at this link that is specific to this screen and this account, and you can then take that link, you can tweet it, you can put it on Facebook, you can do whatever you want to this link and it'll take them to that particular screen. What we've done is we've actually gone one step further in my example, and we have embedded that method screen onto a website. So this is just for the technical users in the audience. This is just a fake website again, but we've put it within an iframe, right? So we now have the ability, if this was our real website, what we can do, and just look at the possibilities here. We can go over to this method screen. So let's go over to web to lead app, manage the screens. We need to determine which screen we want to customize. So not the test drive, not the setup, but probably the customer form. We're going to go ahead and hit customize. Of course, it is going to ask us to create a copy. So this will be kind of a copy to. And what we're going to do is a very, very simple change. We are going to look for a field, and maybe we want to allow our users to determine if they want the ability to opt in or opt out of marketing. So while they're entering their information, do we want to allow them to opt in or opt out of marketing? So you have a couple of options there, right? You can add certain things here to this screen. But what we're going to do is we're just going to do something even easier just to show that it's customizable. We're going to add some text. So we're going to take a look at this customer form, and right under email, we're just going to add some text underneath the email box. And again, this is just to prove that there's some customization abilities. Please be sure to use a valid email. Now again, I wouldn't recommend you use this example to customize the form. But if we were to preview this, you'd see here now all of a sudden under the email form, we have a message. So it doesn't look so great, so I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. We're going to click this custom text. Please, maybe we'll say use a valid email. We'll preview it just to get it kind of on one line. Perfect. And then we're followed by the address. So what we can do now is we can go ahead and hit save. And again, I'm not suggesting you do that as the customization, but just to kind of show you that these customizations are possible. And the next thing that we're going to do now is we need to make sure, again, this is our original screen. We now have a different copy of that screen. So what we need to do is we just need to go to security, make it publicly available this time. Okay. And again, it doesn't copy your original, security settings. So let's make sure that that is publicly available. And our original form will now redirect to our custom version. So when we go to ABC Merch, our website, we should, hopefully, if the changes went through, we should then start to see, and they didn't. So one thing that is common for users to, have some difficulty with is, well, why didn't it go through? I mean, we made it public, we did all the things that Val suggested and that method suggesting we do. There's one more special scenario about this, and it is versions. So in that custom screen, you need to go to your versions, because when we copy our screen, you're going to notice that when I'm signed in, I'm the one who's kind of playing around with this screen, but our guest and public pages will only display the live published versions of that screen. So we have kind of a test version here, which was the one that was modified by me about a minute ago. We need to make that status live for everybody. So once we do that, and it's now live, our new screen should display, and here we see please use valid email. So a little difficult to see kind of merged together there with the address caption, but we can see that we can start to add some custom fields, tweak the screen. Maybe we could have made that button pink if we really wanted to. I mean, whatever it is that we want to do. So we see here we have the ability to take private pages where method users, internal users are logging in, guest pages, which we provide out of the box, which can also be customized. You can create your own guest pages. And of course, you can customize public pages as well as create your own public pages. And you can have more than one public page available. And that being said, it takes us right to about 45 minutes. We are going to open the floor for questions. I know that there were some questions that were coming in. Some of them were, public questions, and some of them were sent to us privately. But let's take a look to see if there are any questions that are outstanding that we would like to address. Let's go ahead here and open up the floor to questions. So please take the time to type in your questions, and we will answer. Looks like a lot of the questions were answered. Just reading through some of them. Reading through some of the questions. So thank you to our team to questions coming in talking about can you review the password protected option in the for the guest users. Absolutely. So I can take a look at that. So let's go over here to our account. So a quick recap. What we're doing here is we're taking a look at our contacts, and what we're going to see here is what has happened in the past with Amy is this particular email address, amy.methodsample@gmail.com. When we share or send this link, or anybody clicks this particular link, which is very specific to Amy, so we're going to copy it, and we are going to just paste it in an incognito mode. You're going to notice here it is asking us to sign in, and we must sign in with the email for that particular contact and the password that she chose to protect that particular access. So when we come to this screen, we can't all of a sudden change our minds and do something else. This is really asking us for Amy's very specific ID and password, and the password that she chose to protect. And you can actually see it in the URL. It actually talks about ABC merch, and it has the word guest in the URL. So it's looking for a guest access. And when we do this, amy.methodsample@gmail.com, and put in her password, we are able to successfully log in. Now the difference here, and again, it follows that same customization. The difference here is let's sign out and let's go over to a different contact and let's go over to, and we'll see if we can determine a contact where we have not password. Okay, and of course, I mean, we need to have access to a particular email. So let's try Dwayne over here. And again, just looking for a very particular contact who perhaps has not password protected their account. So we're going to try Dwayne. But what I'm doing specifically is I'm also looking for a contact that I have access to their email. So I can show everybody here what kind of email they would receive notifying them to password protect. So here's Dwayne. And what I'm going to do is just copy his email. It's an email that I may have access to. It looks like it's a method sample. And we're going to log into that email. And there we go. So what I've done is I have access to that particular email. It was a lucky guess from just picking a couple. And we can see that just a moment ago, at 2:46 Eastern time, we're going to open this up. And that particular contact would receive an email like this. It would simply say, secure your account for ABC Merch. So ABC Merch is the company in my scenario that is using the method account. And it says, hello, we just want to basically allow you the ability to password protect your guest access. And the way that they do that is they would simply click this link, they would open it up, and it would ask them to create a password. And once they do this, the login email, the rock.methodsample@gmail.com, will be password protected from this point forward. So anytime that somebody tries to click a link, maybe they get access to a link that they shouldn't have accidentally, it will require that password every single time. Now, if we don't complete this, it'll just take us into the guest portal each time, but they will still get that notification from Method, the automated system from us here saying, we highly recommend that you password protect your guest access. And they will get that, I believe, until they password protect their guest access. So it is highly recommended. We encourage your guests to do the same. So thank you so much for that question. Can you get personalized help with this from Method? Absolutely. So if you are looking to get some help with on customizing these areas in Method, we have a couple of options. One is our staff. So we definitely have staff that is available to help you. So you can contact us at any time and our staff will be available to assist. So if it's setting it up or customizing, we have a great professional services team that will be able to help as well. For those of you that want some local help or some help from some of our Method partners who are heavily involved in the Intuit community and in Method as well, they may be able to provide Method help as well as help in other areas. So we do have on our website a listing of our active Method partners that are available to help as well. So great question. Lots of options. Do it yourself. Get help from us. Get help from our partner community. And I do have time for a couple more questions, so let's go and just take a look. Could you review how you would show records on a guest page that only apply to the specific guest? Yes, we can do that. And just looking at skimming through some other questions, how do I get access to the sales pipeline app if I don't have it? So I will answer that one first. It's a little easier. Let's go over here, and when we're in our account, you can go to subscriptions. And this will show you your current subscriptions, where it will show you what is currently available in your account, and you down at the bottom you have the ability to get more apps. So when you click on get more apps, it will show you available packs that have not been installed on this account in the past, and it will show you packs that have been installed on this account in the past. So here we can see sales pipeline, and we can click it and we can see the different apps that are available in that package. We'll see opportunities and web to lead. So that is the example that I showed there for for capturing contact information, from a Method public page. The other question was showing the filtering options on the grid. So hopefully I'm able to do this in the next minute or so. And if not, I mean, we can take this one offline and perhaps do a follow-up or get some documentation out there. But let's just go ahead and take a look at this. So we are going to, for those of you that want to remember the question, we have Dwayne. He's able to click rewards. He's seeing, the very similar rewards that everyone else is seeing, which are not necessarily just Dwayne's. So what we want to do is we want to go into the app that hosts that particular screen, manage that app. Here is our dedicated version for guests. So this is why this becomes important. And we are going to customize it. Okay, great. So what we can do here is we can just apply filters. So on the grid itself, we can apply filters. And what we can do is if we're applying filters, right? So we can just do rewards, give it a name. We can add criteria. So here's where we can add criteria, and we can take a look at a field that is coming from the rewards table. So we can actually say here where the contact record ID or the contact, right? So there's all sorts of different things that we can do. But we can just simply say where the record ID, so this is a rewards table, by the way. We can just simply say where the contact's record ID is equal to. Now, another little tip, and it might be a little technical, when you are signed into a guest page, you have an option for value from session guest contact record ID. So going back to my very first slide, or one of the first slides where we said, these guest pages are all built using contacts. Well, we know that it is a contact that is registered in your system that is signing in. Otherwise, they will not be able to sign in as a guest. So Dwayne, Amy, all these people exist in my CRM. So in that rewards bucket or table, we want to look at the record ID of the contact and make sure it's equal to, well, whoever is currently signed in as a guest, their contact record ID, or their guest record ID, which is the same thing. And I believe, and this is where we kind of put Val on the spot and see how sharp his customization is, I believe that that is all that is required. And if we were to make that change and hopefully do the tweaking there, we will see that we no longer see any rewards. And this is normal because we are currently signed in as Dwayne. If we go back to our internal version and we go to rewards, we will actually see that Dwayne does not have any rewards. So let us choose a customer that does have rewards. Amy Smith has 3 entries. Let us go over to contacts. And this is just proving that it works. Let us go to Amy. And we will share the link. So I need that special link for Amy. We're going to sign out from Dwayne, and we're going to sign in as Amy. Of course, she has password protected, methodsample@gmail.com, and my special password. It'll take us into the guest, and we can click on rewards. And now we see that Amy can only see Amy's rewards and nothing else. And if we really wanted to, we can get rid of this filter that says rewards just by hiding it, because it's not like we're showing any different views of these rewards. These are just simply all of Amy's rewards. But you could keep it and do things like earned rewards versus redeemed rewards, this month's rewards, last year's rewards, so on and so forth. So you could choose to keep this if you wanted to, but if you only have one view, it might not make sense to keep it. It just clutters the screen. All right, so hopefully that answers all of the questions there. And if it doesn't, again, feel free to contact us, for more information. That being said, we're approaching the hour. I want to thank everybody who has attended today's webinar. I hope that it was useful for you. Feedback is always welcome. You're able to contact us here at Method. And for feedback specific to the webinars, education@method.me. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope everybody has a great day.